Good afternoon, bonjour et bienvenue à tous. Welcome to today's Lunch and Learn webinar by DNA, Experts in Business Solutions. Please note that all microphones have been muted, so the session can be recorded for future listening, but feel free to submit any questions you have at any time using the chat room, and we'll try to answer all the questions in the Q&A at the end. Si vous préférez soumettre une question en français, n'hésitez pas à le faire, ça nous fera plaisir de vous répondre dans la belle langue de Molière. So today's webinar is all about having access to data, Sage data, but also other data silos, being able to generate the reports you need, make those available to internal consumers of that information, and going one step further to provide for dashboards and PKI indicators to better understand the business. Now, those of you on the line who have used Sage 300 for a while now know that we already have FR, some are using F9, SQL reports, Crystal report, and even Sage Intelligence. All of these tools have helped, but none go far enough to meet the needs or require a developer to create new reports. In comes a solution from a partner right here in Montreal who markets this awesome Sage 300 tool under the name Sage Enterprise Intelligence. We believe that this short 1 hour session will give you a good overview of the solution and leave you wanting more. The agenda for today is quite simple. I'm doing the introduction and then we'll pass it on to Olivia Brown, who's the Director of Business Development for North America. Olivia is going to basically position and give us a 10,000-foot view of the solution and the problems it aims to solve. We'll then hand it over to pre-sales engineer Jasdeep, who will give us a live demo of SEI and explain some of the key concepts around the solution. This 30 minutes or so overview is meant to give you basically a taste of what the user will see when working with SEI, just enough to whet your appetite if you want. Of course, we're happy to do a one-on-one at a later time with anyone who wishes to do a deeper dive into their requirements and how those requirements could be met. So without any further delays, I'm going to make Olivia the presenter and pass the baton over to her.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Mike. Just want to make sure everyone can hear me.
Yes, we can. And now see your screen.
Awesome. Here we go. Am I on the right screen, by the way, or am I in the wrong screen?
we see two of the screens.
Yes.
Olivia.
You want to flip it. Correct.
Give me 1 second.
I learned that lesson myself. Thank you.
All right. Awesome. We got there. Thanks so much, Mike, for that great introduction. I think you gave everybody a really good idea already of what we're about to present. And thanks to everyone for being on the line today. We really appreciate it. Pour vous qui sont en français, c'est sûr que le logiciel se représente aussi en français, mais aujourd'hui, on va faire la présentation en anglais. So just to let everybody know, for the French people on the line, the solution is available in French, although we will be presenting in English today. Just wanted to make that quick note because I noticed that some of you are our neighbors over here in Quebec, so did just want to call that out. So I'm going to just quickly give you a background in terms of Sage Enterprise Intelligence, who we are, where we come from, in terms of the Sage world. So we really started quite a few years ago now. Actually, we were a representative of a solution called Sage X3, and we developed the BI solution. As we noted, there were many gaps in Sage's or really any ERP system when it came to being able to easily access information and report on that information. So like Mike mentioned, you might have some tools like, that are inherent within the ERP, maybe, FR, Crystal, so on and so forth. But again, they really just weren't cutting it for the types of requirements when it comes to data analysis that customers really needed. So essentially, that's where SEI was born. So we are an organization based out of Montreal, have been for the last 30 years. The solution's been developed by our experts in BI and ERP, and we are a partner of Sage as an OEM solution for the last 9 years. So what that means is Sage started to take note of the success of our product and decided to partner with us, rebrand the solution under their name. And it has since been developed for many, many Sage products all across the globe. So of course, we're talking Sage 300 today. We go into many other solutions, including some non-Sage solutions like Acumatica as an example. We're in over 50 countries and currently over 2,700 customers using our solution today. Getting a little bit more into SEI and really, what the solution is all about. Again, I mentioned it earlier, the reason we developed it was really to give our customers easy access to the information that they needed, not only from their core ERP system, but also from any other solution, organizations are using today. Typically, you have something maybe for, your payroll, your CRM, so on and so forth. But being able to get a bird's eye view into what's going on in your enterprise based on all of those different solutions you might have, it's not always an easy thing to tackle. And, like Mike mentioned earlier, it does require some IT expertise. So really, SEI is enabling customers and organizations across the globe to access information in an easy way that helps them make better informed business decisions. So some of the key benefits, of course, delivering the ability to get decision support very quickly, so getting access to information when you actually need it. The solution is quite self-service. It's very intuitive, as you'll see in Jazz's demo. So allowing any kind of user to just kind of, enter into the system, get the information they need to better do their jobs, essentially. It'll also allow you to cut through the noise of your data and really make sense of your data. Again, no matter where that data is coming from, it will allow you to consolidate that information for that enterprise-wide view of your data and pretty much show you the data in a way that makes sense. So it's not just a big clutter, a big mess of information that you're trying to, swim through to get answers. SEI will really allow you to make sense of your data, essentially. It'll also provide others the ability to analyze the information. So it's not just about, internal. We also have some external collaboration tools as well within SEI. So, any type of user can access the system. You can also share information with anyone inside the organization or outside the organization using the solution as well. So it's a lot about empowering organizations, people in different roles to access the information they need to better do their jobs, and also empower them to share the information with those who need it as well, whether, again, inside or outside of the organization. The last benefit, and this one is really important when we talk about Sage Enterprise Intelligence, it's about the ROI. And we like to say that you can achieve quick ROI with Sage Enterprise Intelligence for multiple different reasons. First of all, for those of you who might be doing some manual things today, which it's completely normal. A lot of organizations out there are still kind of operating that way. However, really, SEI is trying to allow you to eliminate some of those manual processes to allow you to automate, essentially, your data analysis and reporting processes. It's very easy to implement the solution. It's a matter of days to pick up the solution from a learning perspective. Again, very, very quick. There's multiple ways of being able to learn the solution. But at the end of the day, the most important point I want to mention about the ROI is the fact that we're so seamlessly integrated with Sage solutions. In this case, we're talking Sage 300, but we deliver reports out of the box and pre-built data models specific for Sage 300 that allow you to hit the ground running from day one with the solution. So when we go to install, we set up a number of our pre-built reports, KPIs, preset KPIs, dashboards, so on and so forth, that you're actually able to start taking advantage of right out of the gate. So when we talk about Sage 300, you're looking at sales, finance, project jobs, so on and so forth. There are reports on all the Sage 300 modules that are set up within Sage 300 today. In addition to what we have that's specific for Sage 300, we also deliver what's called our universal data models. This is just kind of adding on, to the out-of-the-box reports that we deliver. But the reason we call them universal is because they allow you to very easily hone into other data sources, connect to other platforms, whether they're in the cloud or on-prem, bring all of that information together and run the same output, of the UDM reports. So on the finance side, we have some really interesting, your standard income statement, balance sheet, so on and so forth. but we also have some budgeting and forecasting capabilities as well. SEI actually allows you to enter data into the system. So if budgeting and forecasting is something that you're looking on, maybe improving the processes that you use today, or starting to do something more automated, SEI can provide you the ability to do that. On the finance side, you have a lot of pre-calculated, measures. There's dashboards for, the CFO, budget versus actuals, a lot of really interesting stuff on the finance side. But of course, we're also delivering additional universal data models for sales and CRM. So a lot of interesting stuff in there. And again, it's all pre-built and ready to use upon deployment. The last quick thing I'll mention is that it is quick to deploy. I know I already said that, but we do have the cloud option as well, which makes it just even quicker. So if you are looking for cloud enabled, just know that the hosting option is available with SEI. Very quickly, why would you need to use Sage Enterprise Intelligence for Sage 300? Again, thinking about the other tools that you might be using, Crystal, Sage Intelligence, so on and so forth. There are a few things that set SEI apart from other solutions out there and what you may be using today. It's really a comprehensive all-in-one solution. The reason we say that is because we provide multiple interfaces with SEI. So we do have fully web-based HTML5 accessible from a mobile device. We also have the option of doing data analysis and reporting from within an Excel interface. So for those of you who are very comfortable in Excel, prefer to work from an Excel environment, you don't need two solutions to be able to do that. SEI provides the complete suite of web and Excel that you can utilize for your reporting purposes. Another reason you don't need multiple solutions is because SEI can obviously connect, as I mentioned earlier, to all of your data, not just your Sage 300 information. So making it, another advantage of the solution. And again, we provide reports for all areas of the business, so operations, finance, etc. It's very easy to learn, very easy to deploy. Multi-company, multiple databases is another important one I want to mention, especially for the Sage 300 folks out there. We know that oftentimes your setup involves multi-database or multi-company, and you're looking to consolidate, but also be able to drill into the detail of each environment that you have. SEI provides the ability to do that consolidation and consolidated reporting as well very, very easily. It's scalable for companies of any size. So whether you're a really small organization, you don't have too much in terms of your IT department, you can still get started with the solution again as an end user. Very scalable, and as you grow, the solution will grow with you. Mentioned this before, the fast ROI, another advantage, of course, of SEI. So before I pass it over to Jazz, I just wanted to quickly share just a customer success. Actually, I have a couple of them here. So this is a customer, a Sage 300 organization based out of Ontario. They're called Ignite International. And essentially they started using SEI again to automate their data analysis and reporting processes. And I won't go through reading the whole success story. I will share this with you all, the PowerPoint slides after the session. But essentially the VP of Finance just talks about how they've gained insight into their inventory holdings that they didn't have before. So having multiple stock warehouses and third parties, they're able to really bring all of that information together for the visibility they need into the different locations, so they can be up to date on what's available to ship and when, and of course that helps them make decisions on the inventory based on what they have available or not. So I just wanted to share that with you there. This is another organization, Hammond Manufacturing, funny enough, also in Ontario. Again, just talking about how SEI has helped them streamline their financial and sales reporting. So they've really saved a lot of time off of those processes that they were previously doing before they implemented the solution. So I know I spoke really fast there, but I wanted to leave enough time for Jazz to take over and really dig into the presentation. So we will be opening it up for questions at the end of the session. But for now, I'm going to pass it over to Jazz and he'll get into the product demonstration.
Thank you, Olivia. Good overview. I just wanted to mention that somebody sent me a message in the chat saying that we forgot the most deployed reporting tool ever, and that's Excel.
Yeah.
And I do mention that because obviously you've had it briefly in your slide, but I know Jasdeep is also going to cover this. So I'm switching
Absolutely. And
the
the Excel
presentation
add-in,
over to
just to
Jasdeep.
mention, although the web is extremely flexible and very easy to use, people still live and breathe for the Excel add-in because there's so much flexibility. There's so many things you can do with it. So it's, we like to call it our fan favorite piece of SEI. So Jazz will definitely be covering that in his presentation.
Thank you, Jasdeep. The floor is yours.
Absolutely. Thank you, Olivia and Mike, for your parts of presentations. And I just wanted to make sure you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Perfect. All right, and thank you everyone for joining us today on this call and this webinar. My name is Jasdeep and I'm pre-sales engineer, and I will walk you through the product demonstration of SEI across the various platforms it is offered on. So first of all, we will look at the web application of SEI, which I am using Google Chrome for, but you could use any other browser of your choice. It's also available in multiple languages. Speaking in our Canadian context, we, of course, English and French. The templates, all the KPIs delivered to you are also delivered in both English and French. And secondly, each SEI user gets a unique username and password where different security settings can be customized for each user so that when you log in, you have access to exactly the reports that you would want to see and use in the solution. And after logging in, we are taken directly into the main landing page. And I'll take a quick moment to explain you the layout here. On the left-hand side, we have the command center, which comes with the various tabs like data models and views, the dashboards, report designer, and also a section where we can store the reports we will be using most often. So all of these tabs right here in the same platform so that you do not have to switch between the applications to either create reports and then use the dashboards on another solution. It's all provided to you as a complete package. So the first tab here, the data models and views, this is where I would like to talk a little bit more about the templates, which Olivia highlighted earlier in the presentation. So SEI offers you two different sets of templates, which are, one of them is the ERP specific, which would be Sage 300 in your case, and the various folders, the various modules which are covered are such as accounts payables, the receivables, finance, sales analysis, project job costing, and you'll see how each one of these are in their own catalogs, which we call as basically the data models. And then each data model further has their own sets of reports, graphs, and visuals, which are provided out of the box. So there are hundreds of different reports and visualizations that you can use from the day one, also giving you the access in the real time. So any transactions posted in the ERP will be reflected into these Sage 300 templates right away. On top of that, we have another template, which is called the Universal Data Model, which is based on the Olap Cube technology, and it will allow you to connect to not only Sage 300 data, but also bring in the data from other sources, other systems that you might be using, which could be a CRM software based on the cloud, or any other third-party systems, legacy systems you might want to connect to and report on. Currently, we have the Universal Data Model, which is delivered for finance, sales, CRM, and inventory, and also offers advanced functionalities like creating your sales forecast and financial budgets within SEI. So that's about what we get out of the box in terms of the reportings and visualizations. Then the next part is the dashboards. And just like the reports, there are out-of-the-box dashboards which are tailored to Sage 300 and the ones which come out of the box with the Universal Data Model. So what we will do, we will first of all go ahead and explore some of the dashboards which are provided. And I'm going to open the first dashboard, which is a role-based dashboard, Cfo. And while it is loading, I must mention that how powerful these dashboards actually are, since they combine the visualizations, different KPIs all together, and no matter from what data source and what database you're actually connecting and bringing the data from, you can picture all of your data in the same page with the help of these dashboards. So here we have Cfo Dashboard, which is providing us the KPIs like gross margin, the cash to cash cycle, and profitability, liquidity, so on and so forth. So we can see the full financial health of the organization on the same page. And then we can also very easily play with the data here on these dashboards. On the top, we have what we call as a filtering panel, which has multiple tabs for the filters. So we can go into a different fiscal period, for example, and apply that selection so that everything else on this dashboard now changes according to the selections we make on these filtering panels. If the view is too small, we can always enlarge these views and see them in a much bigger way by simply expanding and maximizing these visualizations. Since each one of these visualizations together come along to create this dashboard, it's also very easy to customize these dashboards as well, if you would like. So we have an option called Edit Dashboard, where we will see each visualization now in its own little window, and then we can either resize these visualizations or simply delete them and go back into our data models and views where most of our worksheets and visualizations, they exist, and we can simply go and bring in a report of our choice by simply dragging and dropping that right into the dashboard. Doing so will include that particular report, income statement, for example, here in this dashboard, and then we are very easily, we are able to customize these dashboards on our own. Let's have a look at another dashboard here. On this side, I will open one on the sales performance. Again, this dashboard includes a lot of different KPIs where we are comparing the sales of actuals this year versus the last year. For example, we see the KPIs on the quantity, the cost, and the margin, and then comparing them against for the last year. There's also a lot more visualizations here as well, such as the maps, where we can hover onto the different states, the different regions, provinces, and then see the exact amounts collected from those states. These KPIs reflected on these maps, when we hover onto them, can also be customized according to what exactly you would like to see when you hover on the different regions. Secondly, it's also easy to filter on these dashboards, not through just the filtering panel on the top, but also by clicking anywhere on these visualizations. So for example, if we go on to the state of California and we would like to see everything else filtered on the state of California, so we can simply click on California, add that to the filter, and as a result of that selection, we will see now the sales everywhere on this dashboard for California. For example, we have the trend that we are seeing here, which is comparing the sales performance of current year versus last year, would be particular to the state of California. To come to the original view, it's very easy. We can simply remove the filter and then come back to the overall sales of our products. Then another thing that I must highlight here in this dashboard is this particular view, which I can enlarge like this. We are comparing the sales of this year versus last year, where the blue bars show us the actuals versus the red slots, which show us the amounts from the last year. So we can easily analyze what we are and how we are doing in terms of our sales this year versus last year. And by doing so, we can see that high back arm tilter, for example, is the product which is actually the least when it comes to the number of sales that we did on this product. So we can dig deeper on this product actually and connect this to the underlying data by linking this to the worksheets. So when we click on the bar representing high back arm tilter, we have the option to link this to the existing worksheets within SEI. And that's where we get presented all the worksheets that we can connect to. So these are the suggestions that the solution makes for us so that we can go into the right worksheet of our choice. So we will choose sales summarized, for example. And that would make us jump directly right from that dashboard into this worksheet here. And then we can further do our drill down on these worksheets to see what different cities is that particular product's high back arm tilter being sold. So we see the Sacramento as a build to city, and that's where we now can take it a step further to find out who is the sales rep in this particular city. So to do so, we have a toolbar on these worksheets, which is the dimensions and measures. And here we can go and select a dimension of our choice. So if I would like to bring in the sales rep ID, I can simply drag and drop that into my groups. And I will explain in a moment how these worksheets actually work in detail, but just to show you how easy it is to bring in your own fields and see the details by drilling down to any level of detail. So now, by drilling further down on Sacramento, we see also the sales rep ID because that's the field we just brought in. So now, just to revert a little bit back, just to explain you how these worksheets work, they all are based on the principle of groups, pivots, and columns. So the way we see the data in these worksheets would really depend on what fields do we enter in these shelves. So remember, we started from the product stat group, which was the first C1 here. So we can further drill down onto that to see the next level of detail, which is going to be the product stat group 2. Further drilling down on that, we can see the third level, which is the bill to city, and all the way down to the sales rep ID, which is the last field. On the other side, we see the columns, invoice amount, the invoice month to month, so on and so forth, and these are represented by the columns right here. To bring in the new fields, we do exactly what I just did earlier. To go into the toolbar, dimensions and measures, and that's where all of them live. We can bring in a dimension of our choice, a calculation of our choice as well. So the advantage of the universal data model and the various templates which are also provided to you out of the box is that you get access to all these pre-calculated measures. For example, the month-to-month growth, the year-to-year growth, rolling 3, rolling 12, all these calculations are pre-done. So let's say if I would like to bring in the invoice margin as one of the other fields, we can simply drag and drop that into the place and keep them exactly in the order that we would like. And then we see that as a new column added in this report. Now let's go ahead and look at some of the other advanced reports which are offered with the universal data model for financials, since we already saw one example on the sales. So we will open a balance sheet report, for example. And here, while opening this report, we are presented with the selection page where we can make our selections on what exact fiscal year that I would like to see that information on, what fiscal period. Do I have multiple chart of accounts? I can filter on them as well, and then confirm the changes. And that, as a result, will give us the access to this industry standard balance sheet report. Where we have the standard structure containing the assets, the liabilities, stockholders' equity, and then we can again continue the process of drilling down to any level of detail that we would like. So principle remains the same. We see the account codes, then further drilling down on the account codes, we can also see the different document numbers, so on and so forth. It's another advantage of using SEI, I must mention here, is that we can see the consolidated reports as well. So I would just like to open another report here on detailed transactions, where we can see all the different companies which are set up in Sage 300 and see the postings for those companies. So in this report, we see a consolidated view where we have SAM Inc. and SAM Ltd. as two sets of companies. Then we can choose to either keep either one of these or both in the same report. But in this case, let's just filter on SAM Ltd. since it has a better set of data set. So I can simply add that to the filter. And as a result, we now see the postings, the fiscal periods, GL account numbers, and any raw level details such as the journal primary reference, the entry numbers, the transaction dates for each account, particular to SAM Ltd. since that's the company that we just filtered on. Now, this was about what reports are delivered to us out of the box, but I wish I could show you all the different reports which we have, which are delivered out of the box, but the time would not allow me to go through all of them. But just to show you the other modules which are covered are project and job costing, there are reports on purchasing, inventory, order entry, so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and have a quick look at some of the reports on projects, for example. I will open project listing. So here we will rather focus on what KPIs are delivered out of the box for this data model. So for the cost, we have the different sorts of cost variances, the profits, and in the dimensions for this particular module, we have all the different dimensions such as the company codes, the contract numbers, the customers, the start dates, the months and the years of the projects, so on and so forth. Now, you might wonder that it's great that you have access to all these existing reports, but what if you would like to create your own report on yourself? So SEI gives you that ability to be self-sufficient when it comes to creating the reports. You do not always have to reach out to the IT person to create these reports for you. To do so, it's very simple. We simply choose the data model that we would want to use to create the reports. So let's say we are going to create a quick sales report, and we can choose the sales history as our data model, for example. And what I would do is to create a new report out of this data model by simply right-clicking on that. And then we have the option called New View, which presents over 100 different visualizations that we can choose from to create any kind of data visualization, whether it's a bar chart, the line chart, pie charts, or simple plain worksheet. But there are more advanced features as well when it comes to visualizations, such as the maps. We have the integration with the Google Maps as well, and then more advanced charts such as the combinations, the financials, so on and so forth. So for this particular example, let's begin with creating a worksheet. When we select the worksheet, we'll give it a quick name as a demo here. And then we are presented with this interface where we can select the various columns that we would like to include in the report, and then the various levels of groupings to which will further decide to what level of detail I can drill down on. So let's select the columns first of all. And here we can select the sales, the quantity sold, and perhaps one more transaction date as our 3 different columns. And then for the groupings, we could select the customer ID, the product code, and the order number. There we go. So these are the different columns and groupings we just selected, and we will confirm the changes. And as a result of that, we will have this report created for us with a matter of few clicks. So now we have the customer IDs, which we can further drill down to see what products were sold to these customers. And then all the way down, we can see what was the order number for each orders which were processed for each one of these customers. If I drill down further on that, we can also see the transaction date. So that's how easy it is to create your own reports. And then if you would further like to bring in new dimensions, just in case you forgot something to add, then you always have access to the dimensions and measures, where you will be able to go in and select the dimension measure of your choice and simply drag and drop that into the report. Now, what we can further do with this report is, let's talk about setting up some of the KPIs on these reports. So sales amount, let's bring out all the sales which are less than 1,000. So we can go into the sales and we can apply a quick column formatting on that. So if I select this rule, I create this rule right here that my sales amount, if it is less than 1,000, I would like to see that with the background color red. And the ones which are greater than or equal to 1,000, let's keep that as the green. There we go. We set 2 business rules here on this worksheet, and by applying OK, we will see that rule applying across this worksheet. No matter how we drill down on this report, we will see the rule applying on any level of drill down as well. Secondly, we can also very easily sort the data. So if you would like to see what were the top 10 customers based on the sales amount, we can also do that by going into customer ID and applying the advanced options here and choosing our sales amount in the descending order, which will align all of our sales in the descending order, as we can see right here. So very easy to set up those advanced KPIs on these reports. And once we are happy with the changes we have made on these reports, we can always go ahead and save the changes, save it as a new report. Or we could also convert this existing worksheet that we just worked on into another visualization. So we have a tool in the toolbar, which is the view type, which gives us access back to, again, all the different visualizations here. And we can choose, let's say, a bar, for example, a bar chart, and that will take all the data from that worksheet and show us that in a more visual form like this. So that was about how we can create our own reports in SEI as well, along with all the hundreds of different reports which are delivered to us out of the box. Next, talking about the ability to create the sales forecast and financial budgets and take it to the next level when it comes to your data management and reporting within SEI, we have 3 different sets of modules here where you can either create forecasts, you can create the financial budgets and maintain them within SEI, and then after creating the sales forecast, you can even bring them into the financial budget reports as well. So here I have an example. Since all these are based on the same principle, where a user can come in and create their own forecast or budget, and then they further can send it for the multi-level approval process. So it is quite a detailed process where users can further, first of all, create the work and then send it for the approval by their managers. And once the managers approve, they can further push this data into the dashboards for analysis, where they can do a budget versus actual or forecast versus actual sort of analysis of the data. So for example, here we have a report on a user creating the forecast. So we have given it a name as forecast, revision number as 1. And just to explain you what these worksheets look like. So here we have our period which the selection was made for on this selection page, and then the forecast name and the revision number followed by all the different customers. Now what's different about this worksheet here is that we see the different columns, period N all the way to N+11, which are slightly different from the columns that we have seen earlier, since these are the columns which are activated with the data entry feature, which means we can go into the individual cells and then manipulate the data on the fly. So let's say if we would like to change this amount of 4,633 to 5,800, we can put that amount in and hit enter, and then it will take the bottom up approach where anything applied to the child level will affect the parents on the top. Or we can do or take a top-down approach as well, where I can simply change the amount at the forecast level itself, which is 6,123 here, to something bigger, 9,500, and enter that amount, and that will change everything else on this dashboard. Unfortunately, everything was 0 here, but let's just do it right here, 35,000 to 85,000. So you'll see how it takes a top-down approach. And so anything which has been applied on the top will change the child level postings and the numbers as well. So the users can come in here, create their forecast, and then they further have the ability to send this forecast for the evaluation. While creating the forecast, they have multiple methods as well they can use to choose from. So if it was a percentage increase that they wanted to apply to create the forecast like what we just saw, they would choose this option and define 15% increase. So what this would do is to take the numbers from the reference year, let's say 2022, and then apply a 15% increase to create the forecast for 2023. Or they can choose from other methods as well, like a zero forecast, where you will see a completely a clean spreadsheet with zeros everywhere, where we can go and manually change every line item ourselves. So just like that, we have 3 other methods, which include linear regression, the averages, and also the averages on the constant growth. And then once the forecast is created, like I mentioned earlier, this can be sent out for the evaluation for further analysis and approvals. Last but not the least, we would now have a look at the reporting tree feature, which is offered in the report designer. Now, just to explain you what reporting tree actually is, a reporting tree is a set of different filters which can be set up and created by yourselves based on your company's hierarchy, which facilitates the filtering on these reports. For example, here we have an income statement report and the reporting tree right here, which covers the hierarchy of the company, considering the consolidation, So when we click on the consolidation, we can see all the postings of the company at large. But then imagine having this company where it has operations in multiple regions. Let's say North America itself, where it has different company setups. So NA10, NA20. So we can simply click on the company code itself and then see the postings for NA10. Or we can further go into the different sites that this company might have. These could be different sites, these could be different warehouses, these could be different departments. And by simply clicking on that level of hierarchy, we can see the postings particular to that site. So that's how easy it is to filter on these different dimensions using the reporting tree. And here we are seeing an example on the income statement, but it is not only limited to income statements, as we can set these reporting trees for any other module as well, whether it's for the inventory, whether it's for the sales, for the project and job costing, where you can have the different contracts, and within the different contracts, you can have different projects that you can easily filter on. Last but not the least, we will now get to the fan favorite, the Excel add-in. And this is the platform using the Microsoft Excel, where we have the add-ins plugged in for SEI, which gives us the access to over 25 different tools that we can use to create and maintain the reports within Excel. So here are some of the sample reports that we have, which we created using this tool: financial analysis, income statement, balance sheet, trial balance report, financial dashboards as well, where we can create multiple visualizations and put them all together. So all of these are created using the different tools right here. But what I would do, take maybe 4 or 5 minutes of your time to just quickly create a quick report on the fly, just to see how this tool actually works in action. All right, so here we have a quick template on trial balance report where I've already set up some of the parameters where the fiscal year is already defined, the current period is defined, the company codes and the ledger codes and so on and so forth, which I will use as the filters while creating this report. So first of all, we will use the tool called data extraction, but you will see as soon as I click on any of the buttons which are provided by SEI's Excel add-in, it will prompt me to authenticate myself, just like we did that earlier in the web application. So this makes sure that the data is protected and we are logging in as the right users. So we can go now into the data model of our choice, choose the production as the environment, and then choose the dimensions, account code and account description, which I would like to bring out as a list based on the filters we are going to apply here. So fiscal period, and you will see how easy it is to simply map the fields on the different cells. Fiscal period comes from cell B13, then comes the ledger code, which is right here, followed by the company code, which is right here, and then simply ordering it according to the account code. So we have that option as well to order the data in descending or ascending order. And as a result of that, we will have our account codes and account descriptions extracted from the database. Now to create the calculations, opening balance, debit, credit, and the ending balance, we will use another tool, which is the formula wizard. And you will notice that this does not require any manual coding on these spreadsheets. So to calculate the opening balance against the account code 10100, we will go to the tool formula wizard, where we'll choose again the data model and the fields which are available to us using that data model. Here we'll choose the ledger posting, the sum, and very quickly we will apply the filters here again. Fiscal period being the range, ledger code coming from the cell right here, company code, which we are including all the companies for, and finally the account code against which we are going to calculate this opening balance, and removing the dollar sign since we would like to replicate the formula. And here we have the opening balance calculated for us. Now to do it for debit, we can simply copy and paste the formula in the debit and then go back into our formula visit to simply make a few changes here since we are calculating it for the debit. There we go. That calculates our debit. Now for the credit, again, Control C, Control V, operation as sum, and finally the ending balance, which is simply going to be the sum of opening plus debit. Oops, sorry about that. Opening plus debit plus credit. And now the last thing that we're going to do here is to simply drag and drop this down, which as a result will create a trial balance report. So within 2 minutes, we were able to create this report using the tools where we extracted and also did the calculations. Now, very quickly, we can also use other advanced tools. For example, doing a formula drill down to see what all postings and transactions add up to make the sum for us. So we can go into the formula drill down against this account code 100 because that's the cell we are selecting. So we click on formula visit, the drill down, and then we have the choice to select what all different dimensions or the metrics we would like to include in our drill down. And as a result, we will be presented with this new spreadsheet, which filters on the exact same account code and show us all the transactions based on the metrics that we selected. Then other advanced features are doing a duplicator, where we can create multiple reports like these, but spread across different cost centers, different company codes, different departments, so on and so forth, which are very easily done with the help of the duplicator. We can create static copies of these reports, and then we have the ability to send the document by email, for example. And then just give it a name, save, and as a result, from this spreadsheet right here, we'll be taken right into our Outlook, where this will be nicely packed and attached with the email, so we can send it to anybody we would like in a static format. And then, of course, the reporting tree, which we saw earlier in the web application, where we can very easily filter based on the company's hierarchy. So that was a quick overview of the different platforms of SEI, and I would be more than happy to arrange a personalized session with you all if you would like to see a more tailored demo according to your needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Jasdeep. That was awesome. You are the master. I wish I could say that within a day's training you'd be able to do it like you, but you make it look so easy. So let me just switch back to my screen, and I'll switch back to this way in a second, and there we are. So we've received some questions through the chat box. Let me throw some at Olivia and Jasdeep. First one is, how long would you suggest an implementation would take normally?
So it really depends, but in terms of so there's two parts, right? There's the installation of the software itself, and then there's the training required to be able to really, kind of do what Jazz has done today, at least close to it. So when we talk about the installation, if we're going an on-premise install, it's usually about a day to install the software and set up and configure the universal data models. So there's just a little bit of mapping that needs to be done on the financial side. So not more than a day. The training can range anywhere from 1 to 5 days, depending on how deep and how technical a customer wants to get with the software itself. So an end user training, including the Excel add-in, is typically about a day to a day and a half. And again, you can add on from there. I guess there is a third component as well. Oftentimes what will happen is customers may not have the time or the bandwidth to create some of the reports that they may want to use within SEI themselves, which adds, again, that third component to the implementation, which would be obviously, the partner DNA assisting you with the creation of those reports. So again, the answer varies, but we're not talking weeks or months. We're really talking a matter of days.
Thank you, Olivia. A couple of things to add to that. You did mention that the different phases, if you want, of the implementation. I'd like to add to that there's two kinds of training, by the way. There's personalized one-on-one training, and there's also online courses that can be attended by the people at the scheduled times. You also hinted about something on-premise, and if I understood correctly, and you may want to just explain that again, the solution is available on-premise or on cloud. Any particularities that people should keep in mind when deciding which is best for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do offer the on-premise install and of course our full cloud hosting version of SEI. Some of the benefits of the cloud hosting is that you don't need to maintain your SEI environment, right? So as a customer, if you want things to be automated in terms of your software upgrades, backups, things like that, that's when you would want to take advantage of the cloud option. And of course, as we all know, cloud will eliminate the need for you to manage your own internal infrastructure as well. The on-premise install, of course, you have more control over the environment in terms of when things are upgraded, so on and so forth. So it really depends. I mean, typically we see customers who have, on-premise installs of Sage 300 doing on-prem installs of SEI, and then, vice versa, but it can really be set up either way. Does that make sense, Mike?
Makes a lot of sense, of course.
Okay, perfect.
Another question, can you tell us a bit how the pricing structure is? Are there different types of users, and how does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So with SEI, we start with the base package, which, we're probably all talking annual subscription when we talk about cost for software nowadays. So the server component of SEI includes all of the reports that Jazz has just shown you, the universal data models. It includes one full user of the software as well. I believe the initial cost in Canadian is $13.20 per year, so an annual cost of $13.20 to really get started with the basics, but you can add from there. So there are multiple different options when it comes to components, modules, however you want to call them. One of them is the distribution module, so being able to schedule reports automatically to be sent out to any number of users or non-users of the solution. You also have what's called the Olap Manager that can be added on for customers who want to consolidate multiple sources of data together, or who may be dealing with very large volumes, need to make changes to the existing cubes or create new cubes for whatever reason. The consolidation as well is also another option with the software that you can add on. I believe it's an additional 900 Canadian per year. And then we talk about users. So a benefit of SEI from the user perspective is that we're talking about concurrent, not named users. So if someone logs out, somebody else can log in. A full user consists of a power user, an admin user, somebody who's really going to go in and kind of create reports, maybe modify existing reports, set up security, set up distribution, so on and so forth, but also a power user who wants to get into, the front end when we're talking about dragging and dropping things around to make changes to, the front end reports and things like that. And that applies to the web and the Excel add-in. And then the second type of user, I just gave away the name, is the viewer. So the viewer license allows you to access reports that have already been created. The reports are still in real time, so directly connected and updating based on your database connection. But we can't save changes or create new reports as a viewer user. So it's really just people who want to actually consume the information, consume the reports, maybe do some filtering, some drilling down, etc. But again, that applies to the web and the Excel add-in. So those are the two types of users, and again, it varies of how many you'll need.
Thank you, Olivia. So different types of users with different licensing, ability to generate report, distribute them automatically. So all kinds of bells and whistles. In fact, from the implementations we've done in the recent months, we suggest to go with the already built and preconceived, do some initial reports and ask some help to create the initial ones you want, and then do some heavy training if you want to take it over for the future. One last topic we did not cover, but I think we're just going to mention it, and if anybody's curious, they can get back to us, and that's the fact that the tool can be used to do budgeting for the enterprise at the various levels and in various ways. That is a separate module, but very important. So I appreciate the presentations, Olivia and Jasdeep. That was awesome. Let me just conclude with this little slide here to let you know about the events that are going to be happening in May. We've got one on the 17th, which is a lunch and learn to talk about paperless, going paperless. Everyone who wants to get there, but it's not always easy. A product called DocLink from company Altec. It's been available for Sage 300 for a certain amount of time, and this is quite popular. Also on the 25th, those of you who may not know, and you're about to see some announcements from DNA, we've been asked, like every ERP vendors in the last couple of years, when are you going to have a true SaaS cloud-based solution ERP? So we did our research, looked at all the products in the market. We've settled with Acumatica, a bit of an unknown in Eastern Canada, but about to just break loose. It is an awesome product, and we'll be giving an overview on May 25th. So that's the conclusion for our webinar series. We're almost dead on time. We appreciate your participation. If you have any questions or if you'd like a follow-up, feel free to reach out to myself or Will, my colleague, at sales@da.ca, or the phone numbers are there. Thank you so much to our friends at SEI, and it's been another great seminar. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, DNA.
Thank
And
Okay.
Nectari works with Acumatica too. We forgot to mention that.
Yep.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. Yes, thank you, Will.
That's why
Have
we
a
love
great
it.
day.
Thanks all.
Yeah. All right. Take care, guys.
Thank you.